Deborah's here, Williams, who can tell a little bit about the conditions in Delray in regards to why we've been for the last 8 years organizing around this different approach to development through the community benefits agreement. And so I want her to talk a little bit about the neighborhood and the community and why she's involved, and then I'll continue on with the Henry Ford and have Miss Crosley speak. So you don't have to stand. You have to stand. I can bring this to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you will forgive my seat. I'm really not feeling good, and I hope I do justice to our cause. Rashida has been truly our neighbor and our friend throughout this process. Even before she became the state representative for our area, she worked for Steve Tabachman, and that was where it began, and she was active then. So we appreciate her. We're going to miss her, and despite not feeling good, I felt I needed to come to try to support. She is. Thank you. So she also knows that I get very emotional. I tried to jot some notes because I will go off. Let me say it like this. Very passionate about this. I'm a lady that does not mind telling her age. I'm 68 years old in April. And I lived in Delray until 5 years ago. I probably would have still been in Delray had not I ended up in a situation of being the only house on the block. Nobody behind me but a sometime shady neighbor. And down the street, I was in the short block, but the longer block, there was nobody to almost the middle of the block. I had a pallet yard across the street from me. And so my home was broken into in broad daylight. I came home probably just after they left. So it was a safety issue for me that I finally had to make a move. But I didn't leave the city of Detroit. I'm now an East Sider. I say all that to say, Delray is not unlike a lot of communities in the city of Detroit, but yet we are. Over the decades that I lived there, I watched a very vibrant neighborhood be ravaged in the end by development.
That's right.
Development, and there was no compensation for those of us that were left. When the expansion of the wastewater treatment plant came, that took away a lot of our neighbors. I-75, that took away, ran right down the center of southwest Detroit. When they closed the Boblo boat dock and moved it down to the harbor terminals, that closed off the route from Jefferson all the way downtown. So that consequently shut down businesses along 4th Street, businesses along Jefferson. Whole town was built. It took away Turnstead and Fleetwood. Everybody's moving out, and no investment, no compensation for the people that were left there. Just the planning and the process of this bridge that has been, I started going to meetings in 2004. And in that time, we talk about the impacts the bridge is going to have once it comes. The impact it has had thus far has been profound. The street that I lived on in Delray was supposed to be a boulevard. When they started the process and talked about possibly moving us so they could make a boulevard of Green Street, in my block, the short block, there were 5 homes. By 2010, as you heard me say, I was the last house. Everything was torn, burned down. And those are the challenges that the people that I left there are facing right now. My parents are there. My dad's been in Delray since he was 9 months old. He'll be 88 this year. He's a small businessman, Mr. Harris. He still runs his store. He goes there every day to serve the people in the neighborhood who do not have cars. There are a lot of people that don't have cars.
That's right.
But again, he's not really eking out a business anymore. He's just really there to serve those few people that are there. So when the bridge comes and everybody's going to be making lots of money, they're not taking everybody. The plaza, as Rashida spoke about, is actually hitting about the middle of Delray. So you've carved out a whole section here, but you got people left here. There are people that are going to even be left stranded facing the plaza. They're taking one side of the street and not the other side of the street a block. You know, they're leaving one block in the middle that has 4 houses. They say they don't have to take those, they don't need them. What's to happen to those people? So when we started the Southwest Detroit Community Benefits Coalition, we weren't trying to stand in the way of progress. It was pretty clear to us the project was going to happen. But it was like, let's get in on the front end of this and say, okay, we understand progress. We've been moved over for progress for years, but what are you going to do for us? How are you going to be fair to the community? And that's how we started, looking for the things that Rashida spoke about, quality air, controls for the pollution, which we have suffered with for years and years and years. I don't need to go through all that. You already know. And then again, green space for the people that are left in the neighborhood, making sure there's access to the bus routes, making sure the trucks that will be local trucks that are already on the streets, now they're closing off some of the major streets that trucks go down, so where are they gonna go? Between those streets that are left. So those are the kind of things that we're looking for guarantees for. I don't think it's much to ask. They're going to be making billions of dollars for years to come. The other part of it that we've said before is this is the front door to the United States of America. You really want to leave a blighted community that's neglected right there? Yeah. I just. I'm sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice, and I get so compassionate about this. It's my church. Ken was naming all the acronyms behind this because I'm a board member of the Southwest Detroit Community Benefits Coalition. Again, I spoke about my parents, so I try to represent them at meetings because they are the one small businesses left over there. My church is one of the 2 that's going to be relocated. We've been there 97 years. Wow. 97 years. And we were the first black church to build from the ground up back in those days. So, even we've suffered membership loss just like many churches have. But again, our attitude has not been to just fight. No, we understand progress, but don't leave us behind. And so it feels so good to have the Black Chamber and other groups that have now joined us. This fight from the beginning, I won't even go into it. You can just imagine the struggle and how we have felt going to Lansing, fighting up against a millionaire with professional lobbyists and all this, and we got our little cardboard signs and carpooling and meeting before people that really were just simply being polite, and we got to the point where you really felt like, why do I have to beg for what should be rightfully ours? We're not asking for a handout.
Yes.
We pay taxes. We are good citizens. So just make this partnership. Okay?
Thank you. That was she wonderful. I have to say, Mr. Green, who owns the mark, he needs to become a member. You should probably just make him an honorary member. But if you ever go to Delray, go by his store. He still has the original cash register. It's amazing. It actually makes that noise and everything.
It's 5 years.
We'll still fight for him.
I appreciate it. So Deborah has been a champion from the beginning. Actually, she would never speak publicly years ago, and we even did some training and stuff, but she's come really a long way, and she's really passionate about it. I want to thank her. And she's getting sicker, and it's making me feel guilty about it. Yeah, I'm sorry. So the Henry Ford Medical Warehouse. How many of you know that Henry Ford Hospital is expanding and building medical warehouses? Okay, so a lot of folks don't know this because it's not been talked about because you have the arena and the bridge. Those are things that have just been always out there. But this is a $500 million expansion. This is 300 acres. I just talked to you about the Bridge Plaza. This is larger. This is 300 acres near the West Grand Boulevard neighborhood. They've only agreed to, and Ms. Crosley is going to talk a little bit more about her experience working with the Henry Ford folks, is that they only agreed to doing a letter of understanding. They actually, when Sugar Law was starting to meet with them, they wouldn't even want to use the word community benefits agreement. You should know, MOUs, letter of understanding, all those are great, they're in writing, but they're not binding. That's the difference. What I mean by that is, if they sign a community benefits agreement, it's a contract where Ken and I can go take them to court. That's what they're scared about. Well, if you're promising this stuff, especially, and I'll talk a little bit about some projects where they actually promise jobs, but they never actually follow through. We can't really take them to court because they weren't binding agreements. They were just blanket promises. So with that, I want to introduce Ms. Crosley. I am extremely impressed. I thought I was impressed with my Delray residents. I'm extremely impressed with the West Grand Boulevard neighborhood. These women, predominantly women, because they are predominantly women, have really, really stood up against these suits of people from the Henry Ford Hospital, and they have just did a tremendous job elevating the voices of the residents that live there. And I'm really proud to introduce her and to have her speak about the work that they're doing.
Good morning. Mildred Robbins is a person who wants to know what's going on, where, when, and how in the community. Today she sends her greetings, but she was not able to be here. So a little bit about Mildred's work. She has been busy, engaged in finding out with this medical warehouse and the development in the community on West Grand Boulevard by Henry Ford Hospital. She has told us and warned us that the seniors in the community are being forgotten. They are building 104 townhouses, 1 bedroom, and she asked, what are you building for the seniors? Are these just for the medical staff of Henry Ford? And we haven't gotten an answer yet. But these are some of the concerns. And with the building up of the community in these new townhouses, the value of the property will go up, and the seniors who live there will have to pay higher taxes. So that's a concern. And where will the seniors move if they have to sell? So some of them are being forced out in a unique way. The next thing is, what are the plans for the youth in the community? What kind of places are you building for activities for the youth? Jobs for high school youth, jobs for the people who live in the community. Will they be hired in, and when? And where will the waste disposal go? What are you going to do about that? These are some of the questions that have been posed to the Henry Ford group. The next thing is the citizens who have lived in the community and preserved it throughout the years. Are you going to partnership with them and continue to help the community be a beautiful community? These are our concerns. And with that, Mildred is still a champion at this, and she will get some answers for us. Thank you.